Good afternoon, Western Washington, and happy Thursday. I'm Matthew Fab with Western Washington Weather, and I'm happy to be back here doing videos. I just spent a week storm chasing in the Canadian prairies and in Minnesota and North Dakota. Saw a tornado and some really cool storms and some cool sights across Western Canada, and now I am back here, and we've got some different stuff to talk about here as we have a prolonged warm and possibly hot pattern coming up over the next few weeks here. So we're going to take a look at that, but starting here with the satellite imagery, you can see across Western Washington some low clouds burning off. We have some high clouds across the area, but generally we got those low clouds burning off across the lowlands, some remaining on the coast there, and a mostly sunny afternoon and evening expected across the area. Now let's take a look at the overall pattern here on the European model. So you can see as we go through the day today and into tomorrow, we have this ridging offshore. That is going to keep us on the warmer side over the next couple days. But then that will allow a little bit of cooling here as that ridge breaks down into early next week. So looking at like Monday, they're cooling down as we have this trough scrape us to the northeast. But then as that trough moves out, look at how this heat builds back in. This ridging stays pretty constant through Wednesday and Thursday, and you can see we still have ridging across the northwest, and then we get a little bit more troughing, possibly scraping us toward next weekend, which will cool us down, but really not cool us down enough to get rid of the sun and warm temperatures. And then as we go into the week after next, you see maybe some troughing there, but that's looking pretty far out in the extended forecast. So let's take a look at the pattern for this week. You can see this kind of tells you all you need to know. We have some drizzle at times across the coast, and then the stuff that moved through this morning across parts of Western Washington and the interior, and then you can see maybe some mountain showers late this week, but overall almost zero rain over the next week. This ends through at Sunday here, so through Sunday almost no rain for most of the state of Washington, with the exception of some weekend showers possibly up here in the North Cascades. So taking a look here at maximum temperatures, you can see we're looking at Friday. We can move this back here and take a look at today. Actually, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to do that. So today is going to be highs in the upper 60s, low 70s, but look at how much we increase into Friday there. You're looking at highs in the low to mid 80s from Seattle southward. You can see highs in the upper 70s to low 80s from Seattle northward, and then upper 60s, low 70s on the coast, and then down toward the Willamette Valley from Olympia south toward Portland, highs in the mid to upper 80s. Now we're going to remain pretty constant there as we go into Saturday with highs in the upper 70s to low 80s Seattle north and low to mid 80s Seattle southward, upper 80s around southwest Washington and the Willamette Valley, and then highs in the mids to upper 60s there on the coast. Sunday we warm up a little bit more there. You can see highs on Sunday in the upper 70s to low 80s from Seattle north, and then in the mid to upper 80s from Seattle southward. Some low 90s definitely possible as well, and you can see from Olympia down toward Portland, highs in the upper 80s to low 90s, and on the coast, highs in the mid to upper 60s yet again. Take a look at eastern Washington there on Sunday, highs in the low to mid 100s across parts of the Columbia Basin and up toward 98 degrees there in Spokane. On Monday, we have some of that troughing move through, and we cool down, knocking those temperatures down a few degrees, with highs in the mid to upper 70s from Seattle north and upper 70s to low 80s from Seattle southward. Willamette Valley and southwest Washington get into the mid 80s there, you can see. And then on Monday, we have highs on the coast in the mid 60s. And then take a look here as the real heat starts to build into next week. This is Tuesday the 15th. You can see from Seattle northward, you have highs in the low to mid 80s with areas east of I-5 reaching the low 90s. You can see from Seattle southward you have highs in the upper 80s to mid 90s, and then especially areas south of Tacoma and Olympia, you're going to have those highs potentially reaching the mid 90s. And then you can see from Olympia south toward Portland you have highs in the mid to upper 90s, 97 in Portland and Vancouver, Washington there. And then take a look at the coast, highs in the upper 70s to low 80s, and then right along the beaches, highs in the low 70s. So a very nice day out on the coast if you want to escape the heat. The heat continues to build as we go into Wednesday. This is likely going to be the hottest day. You can see highs from Seattle northward in the mid 80s to low 90s, some mid to upper 90s possible east of I-5 yet again there. And you can see highs from Seattle southward in the low to mid 90s. Upper 90s are possible for the foothills. And then from Shelton and Olympia and Tacoma southward through Portland, you have highs there in the mid to upper 90s. You can see Portland reaching 99 degrees. 100 is definitely possible. And so this is definitely going to be the hottest day of the year so far across Western Washington on Wednesday the 16th. And we'll continue to watch this forecast as we could tick this up a little bit more as well. And then you can see on the coast highs in the mid to upper 70s, maybe some low 80s possible as well. Now, those temperatures take a big drop down on Thursday as we start to bring that marine push in there. You can see the coast drops to the mid to upper 60s, and the lowlands drop all the way to the upper 70s to low 80s from Seattle north, and low to mid 80s from Seattle southward, while the Willamette Valley and southwest Washington remain in the mid to upper 80s. And then as we go through the rest of next week, you can see we drop further back into the 70s for Friday and Saturday and then Sunday. So we have quite a heat wave coming up here for a few days. Definitely a few days in the 80s for the Seattle Metro. So we'll continue watching this. I'll be making more videos here as we go through the next few days to keep you guys posted on this. And then you can see here, I just wanted to point this out, we have this fire here in the Lake Cushman area along Hood Canal. You can see it will be producing some surface smoke there, not anything that should be affecting air quality in the metro area. You can see we have another fire here near Spokane that is putting out a lot more smoke across parts of eastern Washington, but I wanted to point out the smoke signature from this fire in the Lake Cushman area. You may be able to see some of that smoke, potentially from the Seattle Metro and parts of the Kitsap Peninsula, but it won't be impacting anyone air quality-wise as it is blowing into the Olympic Mountains, it looks like. And actually, let's take a look at that fire a little bit more here. It's called the Bear Gulch Fire, and as of 8 hours ago, it has burned 415 acres, and you can see this is on the Watch Duty app. I'll put a link to the Watch Duty app in the description below, but this is just kind of showing you where that fire is. So for reference, this is Hood Canal right here. This is US 101, and then you have Highway 119 that goes up to Lake Cushman. This is on the upper reaches of Lake Cushman here, and you can see it is burning up into the Olympic Mountains near the Mount Skokomish Wilderness area. And you can see the heat signatures here showing the fire is continuing to grow. They're doing their best at trying to put this thing out, but it is in some pretty difficult terrain. So we'll keep watching this over the next few days, as this is pretty close to the metro area for having a wildfire. So we'll definitely keep watching this. And we do have another fire over here on the Kitsap Peninsula as well that looks like it is going to be hopefully under control soon, as it is much smaller, but we'll keep watching that too. And just want to take a look at air quality. We'll see if this will load for us here on the Purple Air app. There we go. You can see not too much degraded air quality across the state. A little bit here around Spokane due to some of those fires burning west of Spokane. And then a little bit of elevated air quality there along Hood Canal, but not necessarily having to do with that fire. Overall, we're looking pretty good for air quality across western Washington. So that is a nice thing to see. Although with this heat wave coming up, we will likely get this air becoming a bit more stagnant over the next few days. And then taking a look at temperature outlooks going into the middle to later half of July, you can see chance for above average temperatures remains for the northwest, and we don't really have any trend in terms of precipitation, so likely going to be remaining on the drier side. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching. I'm glad to be back from my trip and making videos again. Stay tuned over the next few days as we continue talking about this heat wave. Be sure to subscribe here on Western Washington Weather on YouTube. Follow me on Blue Sky and Twitter and the Western Washington Weather Facebook group, and I will talk to you all later.